Hey fight fans, this is Richard Schaefer and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Now, I think it's safe to say, based on previous years as a boxing fan looking at different platforms, the PBC and Showtime have had a terrible 2022 in comparison to previous years. Now, there's been some speculation as to whether or not the PBC is going to be around too much longer. And that's, of course, Al Haymon can find another investor somewhere along the lines and other platforms, because it may well be, if what we're hearing is correct, firstly, they seem to put everything on pay-per-view. That's going to drive boxing fans far away, because you are overdoing it, you're overkilling it with pay-per-views. They must have put on more pay-per-views than any other platform out there. They must have done. And it's disgraceful where most of them were not pay-per-view worthy. But again, we understand why they're doing it. You pay the fighter what they generate. That's why they're doing it. But ultimately, it is hurting the interest of boxing fans. Now, if what we're hearing is correct about Tank Davis doing just over 60,000 pay-per-views, that is poor. Deontay Wilder against Helenius, it's over 70,000. That is poor. And if you're Paramount, who's now taken over Showtime, if you like, they've got to be looking at saving costs. They've got to be looking at boxing going, but these are your two biggest players in boxing, Deontay Wilder, Tank Davis. Neither one of them are drawing right now. We are not willing to invest any more money in boxing. Now, the fact that they couldn't even get on Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, even though Terence Crawford left Top Rank, ESPN, Bob Arum, become a free agent. A lot of people were saying he's on the wrong side of the street, go to the PBC, the fight will get made. It didn't. The fact that they can't offer him a guarantee, or Errol Spence Jr. guaranteeing that as well, apparently, is worrying. You've got to be worried. If you're a PBC fan, you've got to be worried. You really have. Because if you can't make those kind of fights that will drum up interest, that will get American boxing fans back interested in watching PBC shows. Because ultimately, that's what it is. As an outsider looking in, and let me know if you're over there stateside where you can watch Showtime, because we can't watch Showtime and that here anywhere else. It's a US based, okay? How do you feel about that product? The fact that you're having to pay pay-per-views to watch Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero. And so on and so forth. The fact that they're about to give you Errol Spence Jr. versus Keith Thurman for the 147-pound welterweight titles, but fighting at super welterweight. How do you feel about that? The fact that the ranking systems from the WBC and the WBA seem overly biased towards the PBC. Again, they're going to have to pay the reaper if the PBC do go under. Other promotional companies will look at them and go, you tried to do us over in favour of those. Now screw you. It could all come back round to Rob Peter. It really could. But the fact that there's still no official announcement, if you like, of Caleb Plant and Benavidez. Yet that's supposed to have been done quite some time ago. The fact that they have only just handed out a contract to Ryan Garcia for Tank Davis. While that's an interesting fight, it is a very interesting fight, but there's so many fights that could happen, it's not happening. So again, if you're over there and you like watching boxing and the PBC and that as well, is it right what I'm thinking? Because I feel that what's wrong with their product outside of the pay-per-views is that they're not fighting each other. In America, you guys are not fighting each other enough. They're not. Here in the UK, they will fight each other. Not everybody, but a big chunk of them do. In America, you don't fight each other. There's no reason in the world why we should be looking at Tank Davis without the fact that he hasn't fought a Devin Haney. He hasn't fought a Lomachenko. He hasn't fought a Teofimo Lopez. He hasn't fought anybody really, except weight draining people, bringing them up and for baby belts. And him versus a Ryan Garcia, there's going to be no title on the line, is there? There's not. Now, do you consider that pay-per-view worthy in America? Maybe you do. Maybe you do. But if you're over there and you're a PBC fan, you've got to be worried. The fact that they couldn't get Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. The fact that Adrian Broner has left, and there seems to be a lot of dissension. The fact that you've got so many fighters who ain't getting fight dates. And when they are getting fight dates, they suspiciously keep pulling out through injury. Now, are they legitimate injuries in that? I have no idea. No idea. But something seems to be very, very wrong. And as I said, if you're Paramount and you're looking at Showtime and the PBC, the boxing, you've got to be looking at it thinking, this is just like throwing money in the wind. Because you're not going to give the boxing fans what they want. And you want us to fund you for it? Why? It seems that you've killed off a lot of the boxing fans. The fact that you're having pay-per-view fights, way too many of them, most of them are not pay-per-view worthy, quite clearly either driving box fans away or they're finding other means through other streaming devices to watch the fights without having to pay for it. I wouldn't be at all surprised if this is the last year that we see PBC operations. Honestly, I can honestly see the PBC Premier Boxing Champions gone this year. Honestly. And if you're one of their boxers, if you have one of their contracts, one of their deals where you get paid bit by bit by bit rather than your entire wages, I'll start seeking that money. Quite honestly, I would. Until for sure they actually sort things out. Maybe Al Heyman's going to get some kind of financial backer. Maybe he will. It'd be great if he does. Listen, I'm not looking for Showtime or Fox or PBC in general to go down. I'm not. Fox quite clearly not interested in boxing anymore. Showtime does not produce in the numbers. So what does that tell you? It tells you that maybe the end is near. Could well be. Could well be. But it's their own doing. It's their own fault because for some reason they don't listen to the fans. They're just not doing it. There's so many fights that they could do to drum up interest. But you've overkilled it with these poor pay-per-views. The fact that when a legitimate pay-per-view comes up, I'm sure a lot of people go, nah, you're all right. I've streamed like the last few. Those streams worked all right. I'll just continue doing that. Have they killed boxing in America? Or at least killing it off? Maybe. Again, this is the outsider looking in because I don't get to watch them fight nights. I don't. Because as I said, when people say how Wilder and Spence and Tank and whoever are superstars, well, maybe in America, but not outside of America because we don't get to see them fight. Anyway, my thoughts. Drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you next video.